I am so thrilled to be here with you today and to be here with my dear friend Juan Villegas. And Juan is an incredible dancer, incredible dance artist. He's from Colombia originally and moved out to Canada at least 10 years ago now, and has pursued a successful career in contemporary dance. And I'd love to share with you my chat with him on his journey from moving from student to professional, and also moving across the country, moving from Vancouver to Toronto and back again, and being such a big country and so few people, it's something that sometimes needs to be done as a dance artist, that we need to travel to find the work. So without further ado, let's head over and listen to my chat with Juan. So first of all, I was just wondering how you knew that you wanted to be a dancer. Is there a time that you remember that you wanted to do that?
I remember that I always wanted to do it since I was a kid. It's just that I grew up in Colombia, and there was not a lot of, opportunities at the time, and I did not feel comfortable asking my parents to take me to dance classes either. I don't know. I think there is this, or there used to be this weird sense, or this weird, in a way, misconception that dancing was, at least in Colombia, it wasn't seen as something very heterosexual.
Right.
so in a way, it was kind of like, you're not, if you're a man, you shouldn't be going to ballet classes. Right. If you're a man, you should be doing other things.
Right.
So there was a little bit of that with me growing up. So even though there was men dancing, doing ballet, it just wasn't, to me, I don't think it was okay for me to do it within, the family that I grew up with, or their own culture. They are very conservative. So I always wanted to do it, but it just, it was never a possibility. So then I moved to Canada. I first moved there just for a few months to study English. Then after studying English, I decided to stay longer to study more English. Then I got into university. I went to art school. And Canada is way more open-minded, so I felt more comfortable doing what I always wanted to do, and I did not have anybody, in a way, judging me for that, or feel like I was being judged. So I started taking classes. Well, the thing is that I went to university, and I was working, sitting in a computer or standing up, or it was kind of like all day doing just one position, and it just got really tiring. So I started, I wanted to do something after work at night that would keep my body a bit more moving, or would keep my body more flexible, or basically just I wanted to move more. So I started doing yoga, and I started taking like actual dance classes. I always knew that I had a skill for it, because I used to love going salsa dancing, or all kinds of Latin American dancing. And you go to the nightclub every weekend and everybody dances and it's fun. So I knew that I had a skill for, musicality. Like I knew that I would move to music, and I loved it, and I was good at dancing. So I decided to take dance lessons, but this time when I was in Canada, I was doing lessons like ballet and contemporary and modern. And I chose this style because I was very inspired by things that I was seeing on TV, for instance. So, and actually, a couple of years before that, I met another dancer friend who introduced me to contemporary dance. I went to a few of her workshops, but it was to me it was just something really weird, and it just didn't connect, and I didn't do it until like 4 years after, when I was 23, that I graduated from university. I was working, I needed to move. I started taking classes, and now I'm like, well, I'll go back and do this weird thing that people call contemporary dance, because at the time I was a bit older and I kind of like understood more about the artistry of contemporary dance. So, and also I've always done salsa and Latin American style, so I wanted to go away from it. So I started taking dance classes, and mostly contemporary and modern. And then through looking at different classes offered in the city, I found that there was a class at the Dance Center, contemporary dance class by Desirée Dunbar. So I went and signed up, and I met Desiree, yay! And I went to her class, and I loved it. And I think it was instant connection. And I just kept going to classes. And she encouraged me a lot to continue doing it, and to be a dancer. I was 23 years old at the time when I started dancing, and I think I met Des when I had been dancing for about 4 months. And then Des also invited me to watch her start dance rehearsals after class. So I stayed for rehearsals, and I watched, and I thought it was like the most amazing thing. I just couldn't believe that these people were doing these things with their bodies, and I totally wanted to do that. So yeah, it was just really awesome time, and then I decided to continue doing it more and pursue it more. And Desiree told me to go and take ballet classes, and I did that, and I was like taking couple classes a day pretty much for a year or so. And then I applied to a couple of schools. I got into SFU, and I continued dancing.
That's just so amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I think you're a real testament to the fact that it's okay to start later. Like if you're feeling worried that you're getting too old, or you didn't start when you were young enough, that it's just not true, that we can start later. And some styles are maybe more forgiving than other. Obviously, if you want to be a ballerina or ballerino, then that's going to take quite a bit of strict training for a lot of years. But in terms of going into contemporary dance, you were able to do it, and you were able to mold your body. But I remember that time when you were taking like at least 2 classes a day, and you were in a rigorous training schedule. And I think that's super important, that you're getting your technique in, and your base foundation training. And that probably was the thing that got you into the university dance program at SFU. Yeah.
Cool, yeah, totally. Yeah. And I mean, to this point, I still train every day. I do now, I add Pilates and yoga, and I do my own ballet bar. So I do my own training at home, or, because I don't have the opportunity to go to classes as much anymore. But I still do things every day. And even though I do a ballet bar, like a half an hour ballet bar almost every day, I'm still not even close to like a ballet dancer, So I think ballet is one of those things that you're right, is really, like, you do probably have to start when you are very young, maybe teenager, but I don't think that when you're in your mid-20s, you can start as a ballet dancer. So, but it's a great way for me to train my body and to stay fit, and to stay, and keep my stamina up and things like that.
Yeah, I think one of your great traits as a dancer, besides the courage to pursue it, to move past your cultural and ancestral blocks that you were coming against, and having the courage to move somewhere where you could do it, is that you are very expressive and have like a really deep well for emotional expression. And I think that contemporary dance is perfect for that you're able to have that expression, self-expression, theatricality. All those elements are just as important as the technique. And you are,
Mm-hmm.
I think, just a true artist that you're able to really let that flow out to your audience, which is so great.
In 2012, while I still was at SFU my second year, I started working with Kinesis Dance, Soma Theatro, and I did a couple of seasons with them. Then I graduated, and I think on and off I was doing things with you, Desiree, too, projects, and when I graduated, I graduated in April of 2013, and then I immediately moved to Toronto.
Why did you leave us?
I moved to Toronto because my partner and I wanted just an adventure.
Yeah.
So we moved to Toronto, and it was. I'm still deciding exactly what Toronto was because I just moved back from Toronto. I was there for 2.5 years. I moved to Toronto, and it was a really interesting experience because I got to meet a lot of the community in Toronto, but I felt like I had to start from zero. Because I remember at SFU, when I graduated, I have about 2 or 3 teachers that also do work outside of SFU, like they have their own companies and their own dance work, or they choreograph. They asked me to work with them, but I was moving to SFU. I was moving to Toronto.
Yeah.
So I had to say no to that.
Yeah.
So then I moved to Toronto, and I felt like I had to start from zero because I didn't know anybody. And when it comes to dance world is a lot about who you know more than exactly. I mean, yes, you do need the skills, but it helps a lot to have been on a journey like the school gives you. You know, like in Toronto, people tend to work with the choreographers that they studied with when they were in school in Toronto. So even though that was kind of like an obstacle for me, I still went to classes and I met people, and then I met Daryl Tracy, who is a Toronto dancer, and I did a few projects with him because he's also a choreographer. And I met Alison Cuman, who has a company called Sword for Punching You. And we also did a creation. We still haven't performed the piece yet because it's all based on funding, but she still wants to continue with it. And the one I did the most, I think, was with Mary Josette Chartier from Chartier Dance. She's from Montreal originally, but she lives in Toronto. She used to be in Dance Makers in Toronto. And it's interesting because with Marie Jose, I met her because I was doing a Buto workshop that she was also taking classes. She was being part of the workshop, the Buto workshop. And so we talked about it. Afterwards, I introduced myself, and she invited me to dance for her. And so we started a project as well with other dancers. This is still not done. I actually went back to Toronto last month to rehearse with her because the show is in October. And I'm gonna be back in October to do the show. And I'm really excited because it's pretty much my first show, I guess professional show in Toronto.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Even though I'm not there anymore. But I think so the idea. What's that?
Sorry, one important point I think you're making about making those connections with people is the rapport that you cultivate with somebody. So, and you just have such a nice personality. I know it's fairly easy for you to connect with people, and you're open, and you have a nice smile and all those things. So do you have any suggestions for dancers who are wanting to make those connections, like how you do that? Like what makes you so good at it?
Totally. Oh, well, so when I moved to Toronto, and the community there is really big, the dance community is really big, but at the same time, they it doesn't, at the beginning, it doesn't feel welcoming because it's a community. Probably in Vancouver feels the same for someone who moves in from somewhere else, because everybody knows each other and you don't know anybody. So it just, to me, it felt like it was just a little bit close. But and I could have probably introduced myself more to other people, but I think that whenever you have a chance, go to their classes, go to teachers' classes, because there's a lot of company classes everywhere. So I did that. I went to all the classes I could from choreographers and teachers in Toronto, and at the end of the class, I would introduce myself to them, and I would say that I'm a new dancer, that I arrived from Vancouver. And continue going to the classes so they can see you dancing. And that's eventually how you start to also build up relationships. And go to classes where there is performance involved. So workshops like Buto, or things like contact improv.
Even if you don't like the style.
There is like
even if it's not your...
What's that?
Do you think it's good to go to classes that aren't necessarily a style that you resonate with, but maybe something... Or something.
Yeah.
Just try everything, maybe.
Well, something. Yeah, and I mean, you will know when something is within that community. And the thing is that when you do any kind of improvisation classes, to me, is a way for me to show my performance skills more than if I go to a technique class. Yes. I'm just working on my technique. I'm not working on like my angsty or my performance self.
Right.
So improvisation to me is a way where I can show my performance skills more. So, and usually if you go to a teacher that is respected in the city, you will also get other choreographers and other teachers also attending these classes, and they will see you dance as well.
Right.
So I think that was the best way, the best thing I did is to go to improv classes. And also take summer workshops. I did that the first year. I did lots of summer workshops at Ryerson. I didn't do TDT, but I did Ryerson University, and also the summer workshops from the independent artists that they put together. So that was really helpful. And also, I got to meet a really good friend of mine. Her name is Jillian Peter. She's about 28, I think, but she's accomplished a lot so far on her own. And we connected right away, and we also did a little collective together, and we're still working together. When I went to Toronto, we worked together in a few things. So even though I'm not there anymore, we're still trying to do things together because we connected. And I really respect her work as an artist, because she's young and she's done a lot regarding grants. Like, she's always applying for grants. Whether she gets them or not, she keeps going. So I think perseverance is a key.
Yeah.
Is that if you feel rejected, whether it's a grant or an audition, you just keep doing. You just keep doing it, and even more. Because that's the hardest thing when you get rejected with an audition or even a grant. You don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
So, by the people that I've met that were very successful in dance were people that they just kept going. They knew they believed in themselves, and they just kept going, and they kept showing up, and they would do things for themselves more than to please other people, basically.
Yeah, and I think that belief in yourself is so important. Like, keeping that quality of self-love and confidence is so important, and to keep cultivating that inner self in whatever method, however we do that, whether it's through yoga, meditation, and more inner work, to keep doing the inner work so that our outer environment is reflecting what's happening on the inside. Which brings me to the
Totally.
yoga part, because you do a lot of yoga too, which I know probably really helps your dancing and keeping you integrated and connected and healthy and all those things.
Yeah. So when I was 23 years old, I was taking both dance classes and I was doing yoga. And I liked yoga, and I was like, well, in case this dance thing doesn't work out, I'll have yoga also to help me, financially.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a yoga teacher as well around the same time as I started dancing.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, it's become pretty much my main income, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Dance is a thing I do in a way, to me, feels part-time.
Mm-hmm.
I do it when the project is interesting, when there's funding from the government. I've never done it full-time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but having said that, I haven't also done it full-time because I'm enjoying the yoga part of it
Mm-hmm.
as well. So teaching, and now I get to travel a little bit too, so that's really fun. And I'm hoping my next goal is to establish myself again in a big city, maybe Vancouver, and continue to dance more, and maybe I can do more dancing again,
Mm-hmm.
more performance,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching as well, but not as much teaching, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think that anything is over yet. I'm actually think I'm just starting still. Like I feel like I'm just new to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and the beautiful thing about Toronto, I mean Vancouver too, but Toronto has more of it, is that a lot of older dancers go to classes. So in Vancouver I never got to see that a lot, but in Toronto you see all these dancers that are in their 40s, even 50s, going to classes, and they dance like nobody's business. So that is really inspiring, because it tells you that if you're like in your 20s, even like early 30s, you're still young.
Yeah.
Even though we think that we're old.
Right.
for dance.
That's a really good point. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And so do you recommend to dancers to have a side career? I mean, for myself, I always needed 3 sources of income, essentially. So I would teach, I would produce shows, and then I would also dance with a company, which was contract work and part-time as well. But they all kind of fed into each other, but I needed the 3 sources of income. Yeah, I think a lot of dancers have a lot of interests. Like, they have different passions and are a little bit nervous about only focusing on dance, because then they have to leave their other interests behind. But I love what you're saying, because what you're saying is go ahead and bring them all in, and you found a way to make it work for you with the yoga and the dance, which go so well together.
Yeah. And I did have about 2 or 3 years, I think more like 2 years, where I still was new at teaching yoga. I was new at dancing, so I still had to have a third job to be able to support my yoga teaching and my dance.
Yes.
So I used to work at front desk in yoga studios.
Yeah,
that was my other job.
Yeah.
Until my yoga picked up more, then I left all that and I just taught yoga and then danced whenever it was possible. So you might need 3 jobs. You might need a third job while you're trying to build up your backup job. So you still need to do some things you might not want to do for a couple of years, but eventually things will pick up.
Yeah, that's
good.
Good.
So it doesn't happen like really fast, unfortunately, but it will happen.
Yeah, so I think having that vision, like, I'm going to have my own yoga business, or travel teaching, have that plan as well as the dance plan, and just do whatever it takes to get there, just work a little bit at it every day. And I think I've noticed for myself, like, patience is just so important. We want things to happen so quickly, but just to have faith that your good is coming, it's all happening, and just to kind of keep that dream in front of you. Yeah, that's so great. And so now you're coming back to Vancouver, and you'll do some dancing and you'll do some teaching. And do you have anywhere that you'll be teaching that people could come take your class?
So not right now, but the plan is to move to Vancouver eventually, and when I get there, I'll let you know.
Okay, awesome. Well, I look forward to taking your class. That'll be amazing. And getting back in the studio with you again. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for just sharing your path with us. I think it's so inspiring to hear and just to be reminded that yes, it does take work and some planning and perseverance, all those things. But the rewards just so outweigh any of the negatives. I think it's just so rewarding what we do. Do you have any final advice for dancers who are maybe just finishing up their undergrad degree and starting to look for work and are thinking about how they're going to get themselves out there, what they could do, or a piece of advice for them?
Well, yeah, that basically, do what you need to do in order to kind of like get your what you want for yourself, or kind of like to materialize what you want or materialize who you are. It takes time, and I wish someone had told me this when I was doing it. It takes time, but if you keep doing it, if you go for it, it will eventually happen. If that is your passion, you will realize exactly what your passion is eventually. Anyways, let's say that you got into dance because you were always dancing, but there is something else that maybe you also love to do. That could shift, and that's okay. But I think that whatever it is, your passion, it will eventually find you. So just keep I forgot the word, persevering.
Yeah.
Is it persevering?
Persevering.
Yeah, just keep persevering what you love to do, and whatever you're supposed to be doing, it will find you.
That's great. That's so awesome. Yeah, and I think just opening up to the or better, I like to say, because we can't even really imagine how amazing things will be and how it will turn out. We can't imagine what that's going to be. So just opening up to the best possible scenario for our future.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I love oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you're such a good example of that. Just seeing how you've grown and developed throughout your career. It's just that's why I wanted to talk to you today.
Cool. And I just want to say one more thing. I've been listening a lot about Wayne Dyer. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
And he talks about, don't try to kind of like like if you ask for the universe something that you want, the universe will eventually provide because it's meant for you. But instead of saying, I want the universe to give me these things, you should ask yourself, I want the universe to help me be who I am. And then the things will come to you. So instead of thinking of, I'm meant to have all these things, or I'm meant to achieve these goals, more like I am meant to be this person.
That's amazing. That's powerful.
Yeah, I love that.
That's great. So you're sort of letting go of control in a way, like, I want to do exactly this, but really something better might be around the corner.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Like, who do you want to be? And then the rest will fall into place to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never would have guessed that I would be doing the things that I'm doing lately. Just having Catalyst and doing interviews with you and taking more of a kind of leadership role, which is different than just being a dancer in a company. And I never would have guessed what this could have been, and it's just super rewarding and fun for me right now. So that's an example of that.
Cool.
But yeah. Okay, Juan.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing how you're doing and connecting with you further.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you, Des.
Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
such a pleasure to speak with Juan Villegas today, and I hope that was somewhat enlightening for you as a dancer stepping out into the professional realm, that you get a sense of different opportunities that could potentially come your way. So the idea here is to keep our mind open to potential jobs, to potential ideas, ways to integrate different kinds of subsidiary jobs really into our life so that we feel financially abundant along the way, that there's no need to suffer. So I hope that was fun for you. It certainly was for me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. See you later.